Hi there, and welcome to the second episode of Season 1 of Coffee and Comps. It was a real pleasure to bring you the first installment of what I expect to be a monthly episode, or a monthly series, I should say. Sometimes the commercial real estate world can feel lonely, and so it was awesome to get that feedback and engagement among people who I would have never really expected it from. So, my main goal with all of this is to A, keep myself engaged in the market, but B, really to expose and help bring light to the fact that there are brokers and there are owners in the commercial real estate world in our economy, in our local economy, I should say, that are really doing a huge part in economic growth. So I think it's important to market that, I guess, and just kind of put it all in perspective for people that may or may not even be interested in commercial real estate. So, with that being said, we'll start with Sale 1, which is a grocery-anchored shopping center in Mount Joy. That sold for a little bit over $10 million, a little bit over $140 a square foot. Now, relative to pre-COVID, essential retailers such as specifically grocery stores, are in much higher demand, right? Like, the last thing an investor wants at this point is to have another shutdown and then have the government tell them that 50% of their building can't operate for all intents and purposes. So it's really in high demand. Restaurants to a lesser extent, but still sort of might be in that class. Clothing stores and what have you. Those aren't essential. So to a large extent, I shouldn't really say like Best Buy or like, clothing stores, I guess, are a good one as well. But those stores have a little bit more risk that's carried with them, not only because of e-commerce and everything that's going on that front, but also the fact that, given another shutdown, will this business be operational? So anyways, a little bit over $10 million in Mount Joy. The second one is something that I'm very familiar with because we were involved with the financing appraisal of this property. This is called the Place Marie Mall. The building was originally developed in 1900. It's been renovated throughout the years. The first floor includes a lot of retail. It has sort of an antiquated feel to it. It's 70s interior mall feel. The second, third, and fourth floors include, on one side, it includes a former boarding house in shell condition. Lots of renovation needed on that side, and probably even more so on the other side, which is about 5 or 6 1 and 2 bedroom units that are all going to be renovated. As part of this project, they're planning on utilizing it as a boutique or a hotel, which I think is going to be an awesome use. And this location is, quite frankly, second to none in downtown Lancaster. So it'll be really exciting to watch that project go forward. The third one is a medical office building on Lincolnstown Road. It was listed by Corey Martier. He's a great friend of mine. We were on the phone for 30 minutes today. He's a wealth of knowledge. If anybody is involved with medical office sales, he'd be somebody to, or listing or leasing or ownership, would be a great resource for you. But anyways, he listed this, and the main tenant is Select Medical. They just recently signed a 10-year lease. They have about 6,200 square feet of the building. Foot and Ankle Group, they signed a 10-year lease. However, after the 5th year, they have an out clause. So for all intents and purposes, a buyer is going to underwrite that as a 5-year lease. And then about 1,900 square feet was vacant. So the sale yielded a 7.6% cap rate, as opposed to what Corey said might yield about a 6 5 cap rate if the foot and ankle group had a 10-year lease, a hard 10-year lease. An interesting point of this sale is that when it was originally developed in 2008, it was actually approved for another 13,000 square feet right here. So the building would have created an L shape. That side of the building was never developed. However, the stormwater management parking actually were, in phase 1, were actually built to accommodate that. So any future building area doesn't need to do any more stormwater management or parking, which we can all agree are cost prohibitive measures anymore imposed by zoning and municipalities. So anyways, Penn State Medical actually, or Penn State Health was actually interested in that 13,000 square feet. They ended up developing in the former Blue Ridge Country Club directly across the street, right next to the CVS. So their interest is an indication, at the very least, that this location is desirable. Sale number 4 was, and then I should say that Sean Fitzsimmons and Drew Bobenchek were on the buyer's side of this. Sale number 4 was brokered by Chuck Heller out of Landmark as well. And I hope you guys are sitting down before I say this, but this sale yielded a 3.5 cap rate. And while that in itself is sometimes an indication or an approach to value, the real reason why it's so low is because the market, or the rents, were approximately 40% below market. So this thing in the first year, they're going to raise NOI by, 40%, I guess. And then it's gonna stabilize at probably in between like a 6.5% and a 7% yield rate. So the cap rate in year 1 is not necessarily the best indication that this of desirability, I guess you could say. So this building is 20 total units. It was purchased by a syndication, and syndications have become more and more popular recently because anybody can really invest in a syndication. It might not be as simple as that. You have to be accredited in certain cases, but for the most part, it's a low barrier to entry into specifically multifamily investing, but investing overall. So with how much capital is in the markets right now, it's a big reason why is because syndications have become so popular, coupled with the fact that institutions and other private equity groups have put an emphasis on multifamily housing. Another reason why, and I'm going to get to this a little bit later, is because developing new multifamily is become infeasible. It's become financially infeasible. So naturally, if you're underwriting certain purchases, you can expect that rents are going to go up by 5% a year, as opposed to the historical maybe 3%. Some people are underwriting deals at 10% rent growth in certain markets, even 20%. So, and the biggest reason why is because A, there's not enough land, or B, there's not enough, it's too cost prohibitive. So it's not financially feasible to build any new supply. With that economic sort of like interaction going on, then the existing supply is only going to get more valuable. So that's sort of the thought process behind a lot of this cap rate compression going on in multifamily specifically. But quite frankly, it's the reason why a lot of cap rate compression is going on in industrial as well, with specific regard to land. But carry on. Sale number 5 is a former Bob Evans off of the Lime Kiln Road exit and on your way down to York on 83. Right off the turnpike, this property was brokered by Brad Rohrball at Bennett Williams and his team. I reached out to Brad. I'm not entirely sure what the buyer's planning on doing with this property, but I gotta imagine it's going to be some type of a restaurant use. I grew up right down the street, and I would love to see this, be brought back to life, I guess. So anyways, not too much going on with that one, but an interesting sale nonetheless. Sale number 6 was a former used car sales facility or a shop on Carlisle Pike, directly across the street from the Evergreen complex, which actually sold this year as well. So Evergreen, Cork and Forth title, that whole complex was subdivided. That was sold, and then the back piece was sold to Inch and Company, who's developing over, I think it's 216 multifamily units in the back there, and they're well on their way. I believe that's probably expected to be delivered in phases all the way up through 2023. Could be wrong with that date, but nonetheless, that's an exciting project going on in this area as well. So this project, or this Univest property, was purchased. They got Univest in pocket. They did tenant improvements, and then they sold it to an investor at what I calculated to be about a 6.34% cap rate. That was based on the offering memorandum. So the landlord pays for insurance and exterior maintenance, and the lease is about $30 a square foot. I do want to mention as well that right behind here, the former NB Liebman, I believe, is going to be a Lidl or an Aldi. I'm sorry that I can't exactly remember which one, but I'll post that in the comments if I remember. So anyways, this is an interesting one that most people have seen. So anyways, honorable mention, we got a daycare facility here, which have become more and more popular since COVID, right? I mean, I'm not entirely sure why more of these haven't been built. It seems like there's a waiting list at every daycare. It seems like, there's a higher demand relative to pre-COVID. I can't imagine that this business model is going anywhere. So this sold. This was listed by Matt Gorman and Michael Shover out of CBRE. It was, the brokers were Faraz Shima and Aaron Downey. According to CoStar, this yielded about a 7.25% cap rate. Typically, these leases are structured double or triple net, but the research is ongoing. So fairly straightforward. Kitty Academy, tenanted daycare. Pretty cool sale there. So another honorable mention. This is a self-storage facility and an RV park, RV storage on West Market Street in York. It's in Jackson Township, right in the suburbs. I made a call to the owners or the management group. I couldn't figure out how many units they have there, but nonetheless, it sold for about a 7.25 cap rate. Compared to a lot of the national and regional sales that I'm familiar with, I believe that cap rate's a little bit high. Now, I don't know exactly where the rents are and what have you. However, this is a property type that's in high demand, very similar in terms of press, I think you could say, as multifamily. You got a lot of people in this space. A lot of people are doing the syndication thing with self-storage. The one big difference between self-storage and multifamily is that it essentially is an operating business, and quite frankly, not a lot of people understand the property type or how to operate it. I guess you could say that they understand it, but they don't know how to operate it. And really, the value is created in the operations of a business like this. Whether it be marketing or the coordination of move-in and move-outs. I mean, there's so much going on at a self-storage facility on any given day that it takes a real experienced operator to be able to capitalize on the investment. So, and the other thing that I want to bring up that I think is important is that a little bit of the reason why there's so much interest in self-storage right now, I believe, is due to the fact that there's been a push towards smaller units, I guess you could say, and I mean in multifamily. So as people have become used to living in 800 square feet as opposed to 1,200 square feet, they don't have 400 square feet that they used to have. And where's that space, or where's that stuff going to go? Well, I can tell you what, my stuff is at my mom's house, but not everybody has that luxury. So self-storage has become a lot more popular in that sense. And I think it's a big reason why the outlook is strong for self-storage. as we continue to downsize, if you will, people are going to need that space for their stuff. So urban self-storage, I've talked about this with a few of my friends. Urban self-storage is awesome. It's probably not the highest and best use for a lot of properties, but I can't imagine there's not an extremely high demand for urban self-storage. So if you could find an old warehouse and fix it up, what a cool use that would be. That's all I got. Again, I'd encourage you to leave a comment or interact with me in some way about these sales or anything else going on in the market. My email address is mrom@commonwealthappraiser.com. My phone number is 717-215-9760. I would absolutely love the opportunity to speak with you about anything you're working on or anything that interests you in the commercial real estate world. So with that, thank you so much. Have a great week. Have a great day. And enjoy the holidays.